the online class students. So in today's class, we are going to discuss with a topic called as dialysis and kidney transplantation. Okay. So the first topic is dialysis. Dialysis. What is dialysis? So the dialysis can be defined as, so it is a process of removal of toxic substances from the blood, so by artificial method based on a concept called as diffusion. Okay, so we can define dialysis as what? It is a process of removal of toxic substances from the blood. That is not naturally, that is artificially it is done. So artificially it is done based on a concept called as diffusion. Based on a concept called as diffusion is called as a dialysis. One of the common method of dialysis is hemodialysis. Okay, so one of the common method of dialysis is hemodialysis. Okay. So this dialysis preferably can be performed for the patients so where the kidney is not functioning properly, or in case of if there is a toxic substance or poison is present in the blood, so during that time the dialysis has been performed. So hemodialysis. So what is hemodialysis? It is one of the artificial, it's called as it's a process of artificial kidney, or there is an artificial kidney machine. Okay, so we can call hemodialysis as artificial kidney machine. Okay, so the first thing is, in case of hemodialysis, the patient's blood is removed. Okay, the patient blood is removed through the major artery. Okay, so the first point under hemodialysis is, so the patient blood is removed through the major artery. Okay, so later, so the patient blood will be mixed with the anticoagulant like heparin. So the next step is, it is mixed with what? Anticoagulant. Anticoagulant like what? Heparin. Okay. So anticoagulant means which avoids the formation of blood clots. We call it as coagulant. Okay. So anticoagulant. So one of the example is heparin, which will be mixed with the blood. So even before mixing the heparin, so the blood, when it is drawn from the patient body, first thing is it is cooled to 0 degree Celsius. Later only the heparin will be added to avoid the blood clot formation. The next, so this blood will be passed to the artificial kidney, that is, which contains many cellophane tubes. Okay, so it is passed to the artificial kidney containing cellophane tubes. Okay, so where it is present? It is present inside the artificial kidney. Okay, so these cellophane tubes are semi-permeable. Okay, so the nature of cellophane tubes are what? These are semi-permeable membranes. Okay, so surrounding this cellophane tubes, you can find the dialyzing fluid. Okay, so around this cellophane tubes, you can find the fluid. So that fluid we call it as what? Dialyzing fluid. Dialyzing fluid. Once the blood is passed, after cooling the blood, heparin is mixed. When it is passed to the cellophane tubes, so the metabolic waste present in the blood, from the cellophane tubes, it moves to the dialyzing fluid like this. So for example, it is a cellophane tube. So if the blood is there, so the metabolic waste from the blood will be moving to the dialyzing fluid. Okay. So after that, after which the blood will be mixed with the anti-heparin. The blood will be mixed with what? Anti-heparin. So after that only, the blood will be warmed. So after warming it, so the blood will be pumped back to the patient's body. Okay. So the blood will be warmed, then later it's pumped back to the patient's body. Okay, so this is called as hemodialysis. Okay, so this is actually a boon for preferably the patients who are having uremia. Okay, so what is uremia? So the malfunctioning of the kidney, that condition we call it as uremia. For those patients, hemodialysis actually is considered as a boon. So this takes around like 6 to 8 hours to perform this process. It requires around 6 to 8 hours. Okay, that is regarding hemodialysis. The next one is kidney transplantation. So the next thing is kidney transplantation. Okay, so kidney transplantation is something that, so where a defective kidney is surgically replaced by a normal, healthy, functional kidney. It is called as kidney transplantation. Okay, so where the defective kidney is replaced by a normal, healthy kidney by a surgical method. By surgical method, we call it as kidney transplantation. So, while performing this kidney transplantation, first thing is the patient's blood as well as the tissues has to be matched. Then only the kidney transplantation will be performed. So, when the kidney transplantation is performed, for example, so the donor who is having the malfunctioning kidneys. So, we know that these are the kidneys and this is the ureter which is arising from this, and this is the urinary bladder. Okay, this is urinary bladder. Okay, this is ureter and this is the kidney. So, which I have written here is the, for example, kidney of a donor. So, if the person is having the defective kidneys, okay, so now we are replacing it with a healthy kidney. So, it will preferably, the healthy kidney will be replaced in the iliac region, pelvic region. Okay, so for example, so this is a kidney which has to be transplanted. Okay, so where the renal artery, so the kidney will be, so which is taken from the donor and it is a recipient body, for example. Okay, so the kidney can be taken from a donor or from the recently blinded person, or we can call it as cadaver. Okay, so from the cadaver we can take, that is recently blinded person, or from the donor. So the kidneys can be taken for transplantation. Okay, and so this is a kidney taken from the donor. So that is a kidney and this is a renal artery, and this is a renal vein, for example. So this is a renal vein. Okay, and there will be a small part of ureter will be there. So the first thing is, so the renal artery and renal vein of the donor is connected with the iliac artery and vein of the recipient or patient. Okay, so renal artery and renal vein of the patient. Patient is connected to the iliac artery and vein of the recipient. Sorry, this is a patient and here is a donor. Okay, so the donor renal artery and renal vein is connected to the iliac artery and iliac vein of the patient. Okay, so once the blood flows into the kidney is confirmed, later the ureter of the donor is connected to the recipient urinary bladder. Okay, that means, so if the malfunctioning kidneys are retained as it is, and the kidney which is taken from the donor is placed in the iliac region. Okay, so that is regarding kidney transplantation. Okay, so let us see some of the questions related to the topic. So the first question is, patient of diabetics have glucose in urine will be, glucose is not absorbed from the glomerular filtrate. Glucose is absorbed from the glomerular filtrate. Concentration of the glucose is more in the glomerular filtrate as compared to the normal amount. Glandular cells are secreted in glucose of the glomerular filtrate. So the answer is, so it is C. Then, dialysis is done in the condition when the person is suffering from diabetics, uremia, polyuria, lymphocytes. Okay, it is uremia. B is the option. Then, dialysis is based on the principle called diffusion, B, filtration, C, ultrafiltration, D, none. So the answer is diffusion. Next, cellophane tubes act as permeable, semi-permeable membrane, C, both, D, none. So it acts as what? It acts as a semi-permeable membrane. So the answer is B. Dialysis is a boon for cardiac patient, B, blinded patient, C, uremia, D, mentally ill person. The answer is C, that is uremia, the malfunctioning of the kidneys. Next question, the process of removing the toxic substances from the blood is called as diffusion, dialysis, C, osmosis, D, none. So the answer is dialysis. Okay. This is regarding today's class, and this completes the excretion chapter. Thank you, students.